All right. Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:02 p.m., and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. We'll begin with a roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Iono Dimhoff. Moran. Rolls. Pelzer. Kwiatkowski. Utica. Palin. Moisango. Azan. Kameyer. Pedasani. Agarwal. Verriger. Snyder. Momini. Spahn. Sidney Jones. Oh, right. Sloop. And Pursley. With that, we do have quorum for the evening. With that, we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Speaker Pursley. All right, and so with that, we'll move into this evening's Senate program, a presentation from ISSO. And I would note, I would love if senators could close or mostly close their laptops as a sign of respect to our guest speaker. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here to share information about the International Students and Scholars Office with you, and some of the information that international students go through while they are coming to the university to study. So to get our thing started, my name is Elliot Yule. I'm the Assistant Director for International Students and Scholars Office. I'll talk about it a little bit on the next slide, but one of the things we do within the International Students and Scholars Office when working with international students, our International Student Advising Team connects individually with students based off of their major and the college that they're enrolled in. So you'll see that I work primarily with international students that are in the College of Veterinary Medicine, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and interdisciplinary graduate students. If you go to the next slide, you can see the rest of the International Student Advising Team. Right now, we are a team of 5 international student advisors, we see ourselves as one of the main resources for international students on campus, and we have this college advising model so that international students will hopefully meet us during their first semester on campus, and then create a relationship with us so that they are connected to be able to come in, ask us questions when things come up. Besides our international student advising team, there are 2 additional sections of the ISSO office. One is our scholar unit, which works with international employees on campus, as well as our programming unit, which provides programming for international students and domestic students, essentially to have some cross-cultural exchange. So a lot of times there's questions about what does an international student advisor do? And essentially, we're here to be a resource and provide immigration advice to international students so that they can make decisions on what action they want to take in order to maintain their immigration status, as well as learn about the different types of immigration benefits that are allotted to international students so they can make the most out of their time at the university while they are working towards their dream of earning a college degree from Iowa State University. So one of the main requirements for international students are their enrollment requirements. So we have information that we pull reports and data from the university to be able to reach out to students to confirm that they are properly enrolled each semester, and then let students know what actions they need to take if they need to change their enrollment, update something, request an immigration benefit that allows them to potentially be enrolled in fewer than full-time courses. The next is employment authorization. So a lot of international students are interested in gaining some experience within the United States, and so all employment authorizations are start their process within our office. And then there are additional options such as changing programs. If they complete one program, want to transfer to another school, that we provide immigration advice on that. Another big thing that we do is serve as an avenue for cultural adjustment to the United States. So for a lot of international students, it might be the first time that they've ever come to the United States to share information about the US education system, how to learn how to navigate the city of Ames. One of the main things that we do have for undergraduate students is a course called UST 1010, and this is essentially an extended orientation for international students that it provides even further in-depth resource for resources on campus, ways to connect within campus and the community. And then outside of the immigration requirements, we also serve just kind of as that initial stop for students if they ever come across an issue that they are unfamiliar with, have questions about, don't really know where to turn to next. They can come to us, and through our experience and connections within the university, can help point them in the proper direction of where they should turn next. So some information about international students by the numbers. You can see for this fall semester, we have just under 3,000 international students that are enrolled. So this is just under 10% of the entire Iowa State University population. 2/3 of our international students are at the graduate level, and just under 1,000 international students are at the undergraduate level. Overall, we have 116 countries that are represented by international students, with our largest countries being India, Bangladesh, Korea, Iran, and China. Additionally, for international students, once they've completed their education program, their connection to our International Students and Scholars Office doesn't end. We maintain immigration records for these students, and they could go on to a work authorization for up to 3 years post-graduation. So during that time, they are still connected to our office and reporting information about their immigration status to us. International students come to the US and study in all different types of immigration statuses, but the one that is primarily used is called F1 status, and that's about 95% of international students, and they're primarily coming to the US for the sole purpose of studying and getting their degree in person. One of the main requirements of being in F1 status is that you have to be in class in person. There's a limit to taking no more than one class that's online per semester towards maintaining your immigration status. And then we also have exchange students that come to the university, and they come through another status that's called J1, and this is primarily for cultural exchange. So I talked about F1 and J1 status. For these, we have to issue immigration documents. And for these immigration documents, they are issued through a governmental database called SEVIS. And so it is a US government database that essentially tracks and monitors international students. And as a responsibility for our office, we have to report within the SEVIS database once students arrive on campus, that they have arrived and are properly enrolled. And then at the beginning of each academic semester, we have to report again that the students are properly enrolled for that semester and still attending the university. And that's where some of those data tracking and reports that we have come into play, of reaching out to students to provide them with information to make sure that they are maintaining their immigration status, so that we can report that they are here and following the immigration regulations. You can go to the next slide. So kind of what the life cycle of an international student looks like is an international student will decide that they want to apply to come to the US. So then they go through the Office of Admissions, submit their application. Their applications are very similar to a domestic student, except there are a couple of additional pieces that need to be provided. One is that if the speaker is a non-native speaker of English, they have to provide proof of English proficiency to show that they meet a certain level of English to be successful at the university. And another one is that they have to provide at least 1 year, proof of 1 year of funding for tuition and living expenses. And since international students pay a higher international tuition rate for undergraduate students, the tuition and living expenses for one academic year is right around $50,000. Once a student has been admitted, the Office of Admissions send their information over to us, and that is when we issue the immigration document for these students, normally called the I-20 for F1 students or the DS 2019 for J1 students. We will issue it and we will email it to the student along with instructions of what action they should take next. For that SEVIS database, the US government charges a fee to each international student that they must go and pay to be eligible to apply for a visa. And once they've paid that fee called the I-901 fee, they are then able to go and apply for a visa in order to come to the US. With applying for visas, since we have students coming from all over the world, there are different challenges that students face when coming to the US and applying for that visa. Like I said earlier, students have to be able to provide funding, show that they've been admitted to the university. But with F1 and J1 status, students need to be able to demonstrate to the embassy officer at their visa appointment that they have non-immigrant intent. And so this is essentially up to the discretion of the consular official to either decide that, yes, this person has proven that they have non-immigrant intent or haven't. So unfortunately, just getting admitted to the university and showing that they potentially have funds to study doesn't guarantee that a student is eligible to come to the US and study. Additionally, depending on where a student is applying for a visa, it may be incredibly difficult to get a visa appointment. Right now, we're seeing, thankfully, we've cleared a lot of the backlog from COVID, where a lot of embassies shut down and very much limited the number of appointments. But depending on where a student is coming from, such as India, it may take them 6 months or so for the next available appointment. We also have a very large population of students that are from Iran. And since Iran doesn't have normalized relations with the US, there's no US embassy in Iran. So these students have to travel to another country, normally Armenia or the United Arab Emirates, to apply for a visa there. And then once a student has applied for a visa, there are additional things that could come up called administrative processing. And that essentially means that the embassy doesn't have enough information yet to confirm that a person is eligible or isn't eligible for a visa. So they then go into what's called administrative processing, and that could take anywhere from 4 weeks to sometimes we see students go through it for 18 months. And they just are unfortunately in this waiting game while they wait to hear whether or not they will be issued a visa. Hopefully everything goes well and a student ends up getting a visa, and then it's time for them to prepare to come to the US. And that's where our international student orientation and pre-arrival comes in, as we will send international students information to prepare for their trip to the US and how to get to Ames and what to expect. One of the things with F1 status is that students can only enter the United States up to 30 days before their program start date. So the majority of international students are only arriving on campus 2 to 3 weeks before the start of the academic semester, which unfortunately means that they miss the normal undergraduate orientations that happen in June and miss some of those abilities to create connections with domestic students. The next one. I talked to you a little bit about enrollment, and essentially enrollment is the main thing that allows an international student to maintain their immigration status. while they are studying in their academic program. This screen talks about what the requirements are during the fall and spring semesters, and if by chance the summer or the fall or summer was their first or final semester. But the main things to be aware of is that it's a requirement for undergraduate students to be enrolled in 12 credits every fall and semester. Graduate students that don't have an assistantship are required to be enrolled in 9 credits, or if a graduate student has a graduate assistantship, then that enrollment requirement is defined by their academic department. But essentially, these are rules, and if students aren't able to maintain these credit limits or couldn't be approved for a potential reduced course load, or another way to show that they're enrolled full-time for that semester, it would be a violation of their immigration status, and they would no longer have a valid status within the US. This is an example of what full-time enrollment looks like, and that counts towards immigration status and doesn't count towards immigration status for an international student based off of that, that rule that says you can only use 1 online class of up to 3 credits. So in this example, both students are registered for 12 credits, but only 1 student is seen to be complying with immigration regulations. That's the top student who has 9 credits of in-person coursework and 3 credits in a 1 course of online. And the student on the bottom, we would be reaching out to telling them that they need to take more coursework, change their coursework, so that they either had 10 credits that were considered in person or add a course that's 3 credits of online coursework to get to full-time status. Go to the next one. This is just kind of a brief overview of all of the resources that we have for international students and some of the different things that come up. We get this information out to international students early and try to remind them about these options as often as we can, because one of the main things with being an international student is sometimes we get to a point where applications take time, or there's deadlines to submit an application for something to request an immigration benefit. So they really want to be planning ahead to make sure that they are getting the most out of their time at the university. One of the biggest things for international students is on-campus employment. So for international students, they have strict limits on the type of employment and how much employment they can do. So international students, they aren't eligible to work off campus during their first academic year at the university. And so during this time, most students will work on campus, and there's a strict limit of no more than 20 hours per week during the fall and spring semesters. They can work full-time during semester breaks, such as winter break and summer break. And so they would go through and apply for their position, and if offered a position, they would then come to our office to complete their I-9 to show that they have eligible work authorization, and if they don't have a social security number, we will provide them with information about how to go and apply for a social security number. The next is off-campus employment. So at Iowa State, as you know, we are really big in real-world practical experience to supplement your in-classroom education. So there are some avenues for international students to be approved for off-campus work authorization to get internships. The main one is for their curricular practical training, or CPT. This is what you see in the bottom left, kind of blue shade box. And this is normally used for an internship during their academic program. And so with CPT, students have to have been at Iowa State for at least 1 academic year, and their position has to be related to their field of study. And they also have to be enrolled in an academic course that allows for an internship. So sometimes this enrollment can cause difficulty for a student if their academic department says that the position doesn't meet all the criteria or isn't a certain length of time to meet an internship for course credit. So that way, in that situation, an international student may have to turn down an internship, where a domestic student could still do the internship, but just not take the course credit. And then I talked about how there is work authorization after graduation. And so for all international students that complete their academic program they become eligible for optional practical training, or OPT, to be able to gain 12 months of work experience within their field of study. And for international students that graduate with a STEM major, and the STEM major is based off of the SIP code for their academic program, they are eligible to apply for an additional 24-month period of work authorization called STEM OPT, as long as their employer that they're working with is going to be using E-Verify. And during this OPT and STEM OPT period, that is that time that these international students are still connected to our office. Those 732 students that I talked about earlier, we're still working with them, providing information in CVIS to show that they are complying with their immigration status. And for CPT, OPT, and STEM OPT, all of those work authorizations begin within our office, and we need to issue an update to their I-20 for them to be able to start the process. All right, we can go to the next slide. So we talked a little bit about challenges. And these challenges that you see, they're kind of just general challenges. With almost 10% of the student population on campus, there are going to be international student situations that are coming to campus that have any different type of challenges that could arise during their time at the university. So these are not challenges that all international students see, but some that pop up more frequently. One of the biggest things is funding. So for international students, like I said, they have to obtain to show that they have valid funding for one academic year to be able to study, and based off of their tuition level and estimated living expenses, that is around $50,000 for undergraduate students. And then the embassy is supposed to look into their situation to say whether or not they think that there's a viable plan for them to complete the rest of their academic program for paying. For international students, there are limited loan and scholarship options. International students aren't eligible for FAFSA like domestic students are. And a lot of scholarship opportunities that are out there may have designations that they're only eligible for Americans or permanent residents. Additionally, for graduate assistants, the graduate assistantships are only offered on a semester-by-semester basis. So if an international student loses their assistantship during their program, it may be difficult for them to provide enough funding to be able to finish their program. We also unfortunately hear about food insecurity, housing insecurity, and share resources with students that are in those situations. I talked a lot about the part about obtaining a visa. One of the things that I didn't talk about was visa renewals. So the US government has a system called visa reciprocity, where essentially for each country, they issue a visa for a certain timetable. And that amount of time, it may be 3 years for one country, 1 year for another country. And students have uncertainty that if they depart the US and their visa has expired, are they going to be approved for another visa to be able to return to the US to complete their program? So that could potentially, that does cause stress for international students, potentially not being able to travel during breaks to go back home, visit family, and feel rejuvenated to be able to come back to campus. Okay. So yeah, I think I have just a couple slides. Creating connections, I talked a little bit about how they're not able to, international students aren't able to arrive and go through normal orientation. Also, distance to support network, as a lot of times international students may be the only one in their family or extended family that's in the US. Limited employment options. Whenever you filled out an employment application, there might be that question that asks if you now or ever will require sponsorship. And depending on how students answer that, an employer may decide to disregard that application from that person. Go to the next slide. We talked about how non-native speakers need to provide English proficiency. We see that students are able to meet that qualification to be admitted to the university, but then once they arrive at the university, they may have to take an additional test to see if they need to take some additional support courses to help their English. Also, if something happens and there's a severe outcome for not following the rule of losing their immigration status, not being allowed to remain within the United States, and it becomes costly and time-intensive to get back into valid status. And then government applications to apply for work authorizations cost money and take a lot of time, where students are waiting for the government to take action on their applications for work authorizations or change of statuses. There's many ways for international students to meet with our office and our advisors. I have it listed up here: appointments, our drop-in hours, emails, special events that we have during the semester for international students to connect with us. Next slide. Next slide. We also have the Scholar Unit, and this is essentially we're providing immigration strategies and advice to all international employees, faculty members, researchers, student interns that are coming to campus in a non-student position. And as part of that, you can go to the next slide. As part of that, we offer employment verification for all international employees on campus, help with issuing social security numbers. Also, it's a requirement for all international students to file a tax return, even if they didn't work in the previous tax year. And we provide assistance to help students be able to create that federal tax return. And then the last slide is our programming that's done. I talked about that first year seminar course for undergraduate students. We also have some programs that connect domestic students and international students called the Cultural Ambassador Program. And then we have our English Together if students want to get into a group and practice their English, as well as some social trips within the community just to create additional engagement. And with that, I thank you all for your time and open up to questions.
All right, and so with that, the floor is open for questions, starting with Senator Azan.
How much time we have? Do we need to extend the sessions?
I don't have the exact time. I believe technically we are over, but...
Okay, so I can make a motion to extend by 5 minutes. 2 minutes?
Oh, do we? My apologies. 2 minutes would be the answer to that.
Okay, so motion to extend the discussion for 5 minutes.
There was not a second. But I would encourage, moved and seconded, there's an objection. Do you care to state the nature of your objection?
We have a long agenda, and I don't think we have enough time to be able to have a conversation over what we're trying to discuss. Because
I just have two questions. So I want to make sure he has enough time to answer the questions.
how long are we planning to extend the time for?
Only 5 minutes, at most.
All right, objection has been withdrawn. Moved and seconded to extend debate by 5 minutes. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, it shall be extended by 5 minutes. And please go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing the resources. I have 2 questions. So the first question will be about the programs. English is my 4th language, and this is my 4th year living in Ames. And it's still, I struggle sometimes to catch up, all this like discussions and everything. So you talk about the program about like English Together. Mm-hmm. Is it like a weekly thing, or what's the process of signing up? Because I don't know about that program.
Yeah, so English Together is, we offer it weekly. It starts out as 1 day a week, but if there's interest from students or community members, we offer it multiple times, and we sign up volunteers to lead the sessions. It happens in Parks Library in the Nest.
Okay, awesome. The second question I have is about job opportunities. So for example, international student cannot work for SciRide because that considered as, off campus. Mm-hmm. Is it like university thing? Can we do something about, university level to make it, eligible for international student to work for SciRide, especially in summers? Or is something that is like immigration policy or whatever?
Yeah, so it is a decision based off of the immigration regulations. So immigration regulations say that students are eligible to work on campus in positions offered by the university or in on-campus positions that are delivered by a third party but provide services to students. We have looked into SciRide, as this question does come up often, and it's been determined that since every shuttle goes off campus, it's not solely on Iowa State's campus, so that there aren't any specific routes for driving the bus that would work for international students to meet compliance with immigration regulations.
Okay, thank you so much. I yield.
All right. Senator Agarwal, you have a little less than 3 minutes. To add who, I'm sorry, was it? Oh, awesome. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, he shall be sat. Was that the same thing? All right, so with that, does anyone have any final questions or comments in our last 2 minutes? Seeing no one, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, and so with that, we'll move into open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about issues relevant to the student body. If anyone here tonight is here for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. And once again, I would remind senators to please close or mostly close your laptops as a show of respect. Thank you. This time is yours.
Hi, everyone. If you didn't know, this week is CALS Week. CALS is the College of Ag and Life Sciences. Since we don't have any CALS senators right now, I thought I'd represent the college as an ag education student. I want to invite you all to the Dance Away Hunger event, which is tonight it's from 7 to 9, so if Senate gets done early, feel free to make your way over there. We're having a live band. Eli Alger and the Faster Horses from Nashville come up. They're playing live on the MU terraces. It's $5 to get in, and all proceeds go to Students Helping Our Peers, which is the food pantry on campus, so great way to dance. The Country Swing Club will be there teaching swing dancing, as well as the Line Dancing Club. And tomorrow, the free food on campus will be hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and Friday it'll be cinnamon rolls in the morning. So thank you, and happy CALS Week.
All right, and so with that, is there anyone else here tonight for open forum? Seeing no one else, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Are there any amendments before we do so? That was, I'm sorry, can you repeat what specifically you're looking to add? So you were talking about 017F? Am I mistaken that 017F is currently in new business already? Okay, so we need to make the motion to actually add that. Okay, so there's been a motion to remove 015F and to add 017F to new business. Is that correct? I heard a second. Moved and seconded. Are there any objections to that amendment? Seeing no objections, it shall be made. So we're back on the agenda as a whole. Are there any further amendments before we approve? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt this evening's agenda? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it shall be adopted. We'll move into approving the minutes of last meeting. Is there a motion to do so? Moved and seconded. Are there any objections to those minutes? Seeing none, they shall be approved. So with that, we'll move directly into committee reports, starting with Speaker Momini and the Rules Committee.
Rules still has some open seats, so if you would like to join, please tell me. We would love to see you there. Other than that, we have our meeting tomorrow at 5:30. We have a couple of prospective senators coming to see us, so hopefully you guys will get to see them next week. Super excited to get some of those Senate seats filled up. And we will also be starting the baby bylaws, so super excited. That's all I got.
The floor is open for any questions. Seeing none, we'll move over to Finance.
Hi, all. Not a lot today. We'll be seeing 6 finance bills, 3 of which that you will be voting on today, and all were sent favorably. On another note, we did just have a seat open up on the committee. So if any of the senators are interested in joining finance, please reach out to me either after the meeting or an email. Thank you.
Floor is open for questions for the Finance Committee. Oh, Senator Kameyer, thank you.
This is more of a point of information, but one of them was sent with no bias.
Is that something you want to specify now or when you get to that bill? All right.
Thank you, Senator Kiermaier.
With that, are there any further questions for finance? Seeing none, we'll move over to PR.
How's it going, everyone? To start, we got 3 new at-larges going to be speaking here tonight. They're fantastic members and attended the first meeting just to get the hang of it, and I believe all 3 of those members are going to be fantastic for the PR committee. Last week, we changed our meeting time to Thursdays, so if there's any senators still interested in joining the PR committee, we're more than welcome to have you there. Our meeting times are Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:30. So last week, we split up into groups, marketing, outreach, and IT. We broke up into these teams just to kind of branch out and not only do one thing during a meeting. We're now going to hammer out every other thing. So marketing, one of the biggest things that we're going to be working on is developing a brand guide, and we're looking to develop this over the next couple weeks just so we can present it to all of you and hopefully have consistency within student government with how we promote our organization. Then with outreach, we have just a lot of outreach events coming up. Eric's been working hard, sending out emails to everybody. So chairs, please look out for emails from Eric. He's been giving you guys contacts for at-larges or other people joining student government. And then IT, unfortunately, our IT director is not here. He is sick, but we are going to be getting him trained up on the website, and there's going to be a lot more updates on the website in the near future. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll move over to IDEA.
Hi. Not a lot of updates from the IDEA committee, but we do have a lot of really exciting, talented people joining us as at-larges at this week's meeting, and hopefully we can have them seated by next Senate meeting. Also, we still have open spots for senators and at-larges, so if you're interested, or spread the word. Thanks.
The floor is open. Oh, please go ahead. Oh, okay. All right, I thought you had something to add. I apologize. So are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to events.
I've never used one of these before, so very exciting stuff. Thank you to everybody who came to Student Government Expo last week. I think Monet and I were really happy with how it turned out. With students coming, got some new ideas of people to get involved in student government. So just thank you to everyone who helped set up tents, who put their booths together. We really appreciate all of your help. The Student Government Big 12 conference is coming up here in just about 3 weeks, so we're really excited to continue working on that and really fine-tuning the details. We're seating a handful of senators tonight to our committee, so we're excited about that as well, to finally have a committee to work with. So thank you.
All right, the floor is open for questions or comments. Seeing none, over to local affairs.
Okay, sorry guys, yeah, first time using this too. So the joint meeting between Senate and City Council is on November 20th. So I'll be working on the agenda for that with the Local Affairs Committee. If there's anything you guys want to talk about specifically, please reach out and I'll get it on the agenda and I'll follow up with you guys and we can talk about it. Last night we had we approved building a mini pitch for futsal, and if you don't know what futsal is, it's basically soccer on like a hard top, like more like a basketball court type thing. And it's a smaller area, not like a big soccer field. Also, SciRide approved the purchase of 2 more of those 60-foot buses. So the goal with that is that we are going to have all of the buses on Orange 23 be those 60-foot articulated buses. So those are like the accordion buses, you know what I'm talking about. Eco fairs this weekend on Saturday the 28th from 9 to 1 in the City Hall parking lot. That'll be a good time, a fun time. There will be representatives from a bunch of the city departments, Parks and Rec, Ames PD, Ames Fire Department, Public Works, and Resource Recovery will all be there. So that will be a great thing if you want to go talk about sustainability with the city. And that's all I have tonight, guys.
All right, with that, are there any questions or comments for local affairs? Seeing none, we'll move on to sustainability.
Okay, this is actually pretty cool. I like these things. Okay, so just like what was said, we do have the Eco Fair coming up, and the Sustainability Committee will be having their very own booth there, which will be very exciting. We'll have a lot of activities and giveaways, so if you like free things, which I personally do, you should definitely come. It's going to be located in downtown Ames, right next to the farmers market, so even if you're at the farmers market, feel free to come over and say hi. I'll be volunteering there all day, and I'd like to think that I'm cool, so. Another thing that we have going on is we've got a lot of our subcommittees up and running, which is really great because then we can start to implement a lot of our projects and get all of that stuff done. And we just had our meeting about 43 minutes ago. It ended. And yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
With that, the floor is open. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to health and wellness.
Hey guys, just a few things for the Health and Wellness Committee this week. Earlier today, I met with an organization called Sonic Connections, which Senator Lucky put me in contact with. Basically, they use audio and art to help with mental health and overall well-being. They sound like a really cool organization. It was a great meeting. They are involved with some pretty well-known colleges already, University of Michigan being one of them. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with them further on what they can do for us and see how we can implement them here at Iowa State. Secondly, the Health and Wellness Symposium meeting was supposed to take place today, but it was canceled, so I don't have any more updates as far as that goes. And then the Health and Wellness Committee will meet tomorrow from 1 to 2. Really looking forward to talking about some future events that we're looking to put on and how we can hit the ground running with those. So that's all I have for now.
Are there any questions or comments for health and wellness? Seeing none, we'll move on to the legislative ambassadors.
Sorry, also my first time using this, but I just wanted to say thank you all again for making the Board of Regents event last week a great success. At the Board of Regents Leadership Breakfast, we heard great things about our legislative priorities, so we're super excited to get to work on those and kind of tackle some of those issues. With that being said, still kind of working on recruiting people to legislative ambassadors. I have a great candidate pool right now, but so I'll be looking to get those seated, but we're still looking for senators. So if you want to join legislative ambassadors and really have an impact on Iowa State, then reach out to me for more information.
All right, the floor is open for questions. Seeing none, we'll move into that other category. This is an opportunity to speak about any committees that are not otherwise represented on tonight's agenda. All right, seeing none, we'll move into comments from the judicial branch.
Hi. There's not really much to say. We're finally going to figure out a date for us to finally meet this semester for our first meeting. I assume for our agenda is somewhat close to what we were doing like last semester. Just trying to make it easier for like newcomers for the judicial branch to like have an easier transition into it. Yeah.
All right, with that, are there any questions or comments for the court? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments from our advisor.
No comments, except to say keep up the great work.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to comments from the executive branch with President Hirsch.
I know I'm pretty short, and I like to be short, but I do have a slideshow presentation. Obviously, it won't be on the screen, but it's what we talked about at Cabinet last night. And we've done a lot this year. And the point of this is to talk about all the accomplishments that we've had as an organization. And so when you're talking to your friends and they're saying, you know, what do you do in student government? You can talk about it. When you're talking to prospective members that want to join student government, you can talk about what we're doing. When you're talking to administrators, whoever it may be, you can talk about all the great things that we're doing in student government. So some internal accomplishments that we've all had as an organization, right? It's not about one person, it's about all of us. We have a complete cabinet. We have launched our brand new website. We have increased our professionalism with having name tags and polos on day one. We have expanded the executive office space down in the Memorial Union. We've had our welcome back signage campaign, which you've probably seen around campus with the A-frame posters. It said, student government needs leaders like you. We've had over 100+ students scan the QR code, fill out the application, and want to be involved in student government. We've sent 142 letters to key partners, which is our administrators on campus, letting them know, hey, student government's here, and we want to work with you because we understand that strengthening our partnerships with administrators on campus is how we're going to be able to get more done as an organization. We've relaunched the Executive Council. We've had our overnight retreat and key trainings. We were the first organization to take part of the Green Flags. Thank you, Senator Spahn, for your leadership there. Director of Health and Wellness, Adam Harrington, thank you for your leadership with getting that implemented. Really incredible work, and it's so awesome that we were the first organization to be part of that. And now we're going to work on expanding that to other student organizations on campus so they also go through that crucial training that we got first exposure to. Some external accomplishments here. Task Force on Food Insecurity. Thank you, Nonprofit Coordinator Mindy, for your leadership with that. International Career Opportunities. Ari, again, that's incredible. I've had such great feedback, even speaking with Senator Agarwal, who was at the career fair today, talking about how he was able to see those visually posted signs to let international students know if employers are interested in working with them. Great first steps, right? And that's the thing, we can always get better. And it's such, it's such an incredible thing that we've done, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to be in a year from now. So great work there. We've connected students with a potential $160,000 in grant money. $160,000 we've been able to connect students with. Thank you, Director of Affordability, Bob Carver, with your leadership there. Super incredible, man. Great stuff. We've passed the parking ticket relief bill. We've launched the Message to the Mayor program, where we've had the first message from Senator Azare Gopa, who's unfortunately not here tonight, which is, tell the city council members I said hi. Emily, they said hi back, right? Yep. They said hi. There we go. Another great start. We had our second annual Student Government Expo. Thank you to our co-directors of events, Monet and Holly, for executing that with the carnival style too. Out-of-the-box, unique thinking that helped us connect with students. And special thanks to Senator Azan there for managing the pizza station. I think you got the most signatures. I think we're like over 200. So well done, sir. Impactful legislative priorities. Because we've been so early on in finalizing our legislative priorities, we're now going to be able to set up key meetings so when we go advocate on behalf of students, it's no longer the shoot and fish in a barrel approach where we're just there and we're hoping someone's going to talk to us. We're going to be direct and figure out who are the legislators that we need to speak to get actions done. So great work there. Really impressive stuff. Board of Regents kickoff event. That was awesome. What a great night showcasing what student government is, our relationship with administrators on campus, and the incredible student organizations that are at Iowa State, and some of which we'll be funding tonight. So thank you. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
All right, with that, the floor is open for any questions or comments for the executive branch. Awesome. Seeing none, thank you very much. Oh, Senator Zahn, I apologize. Please, go ahead.
Martin, you asked for this one, so.
I don't know if I ever asked for questions.
Just kidding. Okay, so can you talk about the things that you want to accomplish more? So all the things that you have done, what are the upcoming projects that you are
in progress? Implementation of the Sexual Violence Prevention Plan. Hiring a new administrative assistant. We've actually been working on the phone interviews there. Hosting the Ames City Council meeting. We're finalizing the agenda. Targeted state-level advocacy, which we briefly talked about. Hosting the Big 12 Conference, which is coming up in 3 weeks. Marketing, rebranding, and we're working on our brand standards right now. Great work from Senator Snyder there. Jake's done a fantastic job. SciRide advertising, more to come there. Improving the polling program. I mean, I feel like you set me up for this. I could not have worked out any better. Faculty Senate vote on Prep Week. We made great strides there. Working with Faculty Senate, we had a meeting with President Parsa, who's the president of Faculty Senate. There's so much to come.
All right, and with that, are there any further questions or comments? All right, and so seeing none, we'll move into the business of this evening, starting with External Matter 2024-2-011F, funding the Water Polo Club with Senator Pedisani.
So this is a water polo bill from last week, which we tabled, and I think we have a speaker from the Water Polo Club, and I'll yield my time to him.
I'm sorry. My name's Ryan Losh. I'm the president of the Water Polo Club. just wanted to explain why you guys are dealing with this now and not in February like you should have been. When we were drafting the annual allocations in February when I was the treasurer, we didn't have enough members that showed interest in wanting to join this league and put ourselves out there. And then we, towards the end of the year, got an influx of people that would make it possible and would be returning this year to make it possible. So that's why we're requesting the money now instead of back with the annual allocations. So just want to thank you guys for your time and consideration for doing this, because our club is not as large as some of the other ones, and this would be a very steep thing to pay if we had to pay it all out of dues and fundraising.
All right, so with that, the floor is open for questions, starting with Senator Snyder.
This is more of a point of information. I will be abstaining from this vote because I'm part of this club, but I just want to say that on top of all of our money that we have raised from fundraising and dues, our dues have gone up over like 160% or something like that. So we are paying a lot of this from our organization, just other things, whether it be travel and et cetera. So I just want to advocate for this. I will be abstaining, like I said earlier, but we would appreciate your consideration for funding our club. Thank you. I yield.
All right, and with that, the floor is still open for debate. Senator Pedisani.
Some information regarding what league they are joining. They will be competing against other Missouri Valley schools like Illinois State University, University of Indianapolis, University of Missouri, and St. Louis University. So they'll be competing against all these really massive universities, and also trying to, win, hopefully. Please do. And it would be great to put ourselves out there in another sport and show that we're better than everyone. So, vote for it.
Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, closing comments, Pedisani.
I have none.
All right. So seeing no closing comments and seeing as this is a finance bill, we'll move into a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, and of course you may abstain. Iono Dimhoff. Moran. Rolls. Pelzer. Utica. Palin. Azan. Kameyer. Pedisani. Agarwal. Verriger. Snyder. Momini. Spawn. Sloop. And Pursley. All right, so with a vote of 15 to 0 to 1, congratulations, the motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Next, we'll see item 2024-2-012F, funding the Muslim Student Association with Senator Pedisani.
We have a representative from the MSA, and I will yield them my time.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Christensen and I'm an event coordinator with the Iowa State Muslim Student Association. So just a little bit about the Muslim Student Association and what we do. We're an event that our main goal is to foster communication and connection with Muslim students on campus, as well as introduce non-Muslims to Islam. And I am here because we are requesting funding for 2 events that we're planning on doing, a swimming event as well as like a henna night event with the Arab Student Association.
All right, so with that, the floor is open, starting with Senator Azan.
I have one question to direct it toward Finance Director Evan, if you can talk about henna event, because I do remember last year we had a discussion, probably Indian Student Association were trying to do henna or like something along the line. So in terms of like priorities and criteria, it does meet the requirement, or what's going on there? Did we change something from last year to this year?
So this is, I believe the section that you're referring to hasn't changed, but the new finance committee this year discussed the henna that is going to be purchased, and we believe it to be abiding by the priorities and criteria this year.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so now I have a question for you. Can you talk about the event? Why do you need the swimming hall? What kind of event you are planning to host at the swimming hall?
Yeah, so the reason why we're
Thank you.
planning on reserving Buyer Hall is because the local mosque ended up having, they were going to have an event for Muslim women to swim at the local swimming pool, but that ended up getting canceled due to weather, and they weren't able to reschedule it. So some other Muslim women on campus requested for us to have a swimming event, and we are going to reserve Buyer Hall for privacy reasons.
Awesome, thank you, I yield.
With that, the floor is open for any further discussion. So, moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Senator Pedisani. All right, seeing no closing comments, once again, we'll move into a roll call vote on this bill. Iono Dimhoff. Moran. Rolls. Pelzer. Utica. Palin. Azan. Kameyer. Pedisani. Agarwal. Verriger. Snyder. Momini. Spahn. Sloop. And Pursley. All right, so with a vote of 16 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries. All right, and so next we'll see item 2024-2-013F, funding for the Iowa State Blood Drive with, in the absence of Senator Nievenhoven, co-sponsor Speaker Momini.
All right, y'all can see the bill. I'm gonna let the representative speak, and then you guys ask questions.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me here. My name is Will Cooper. I'm the treasurer of Blood Drive. So our mission is to donate blood, as much blood as possible. We're the largest student-run blood drive in the nation, which is pretty cool. We pride ourselves on that. So recently we kind of had some bad news. The MU, which is normally where we hold this drive, it's October 7th through the 10th. It was scheduled for this week through the Red Cross. Now it's been moved to Cy Stevens. They had a scheduling conflict. So anyways, it's gotten more expensive. So we have a quote from Seth Dorn from the MU Events Management. It's $550 a day. Again, it's a 4-day event, so Monday through Thursday, October 7th through 10th. And then $550 a day for utilities. So it was previously at the MU, and I think that was around $400 for the whole time. So.
All right, and so with that, the floor is open. Senator Kameyer.
So are you still planning to host it in Stevens like October 7th through the 10th?
Yeah, that was the only place that could hold what we needed to. And we'd done it before there during COVID and worked really well. So that's what staff referred us to.
Is there any potential that you could move it back, or is it too late by now?
The Red Cross has a strict schedule, so they have to do this week. So.
All right, thank you.
Senator Azan.
So I'm assuming that you do guys have the annual allocations, right? So you typically get budget for this type of event. Can you talk about how much money you got previously from this, if you can think of? Because I just want to make sure we are not double funding, the same thing, right, again.
You're talking about
Allocation, so can you double check, is it funded previously or not in annual allocation?
They have not requested annual allocation since 2013.
Awesome, thank you.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
So we would need to change the bill to be $550 a day and CY Stevens. Am I correct?
Yes, it's $550 for the rental and then $550 for utilities. So.
Do you know what the total amount for the whole event for renting the whole event would be?
I do not. I can get that to you. I mean, $550 about $1,100 a day, so $4,400. And so, yeah.
Awesome. And so did you wish to add on to that, or is that your speaking privilege?
I yield for now.
Senator Spahn.
I just want to clarify, are you talking about Stevens Auditorium, right?
Yes.
The auditorium, okay.
Yep.
I knew that was the same, but I know it as the auditorium, so I just wanted to be clear about the location. All right, thank you.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
Okay, so am I correct in that this event is like next week?
Yes, October.
So you need the
no,
money?
This would be in 2 weeks.
You need the money in 2 weeks?
Correct.
Okay. I motion to change the bill to reflect the comments.
Second?
Moved and seconded to amend this bill reflecting, I believe you're talking about the C.Y. Stevens and then the $1,100 comments. Are there any objections to these amendments? Seeing none, they shall be made, and we're now back on the bill as a whole.
I motion to amend the line item in the total to reflect the new.
And also add this inactive property as well.
Yes, I motion to amend the line item total to be 1,260, and for the enacted line to read 1,260.
If you wish, you could do that as a friendly,
Sure.
considering now you're correcting the amount to be correct. And it's your bill as co-sponsor, so do you accept? Perfect.
Can I make a comment on that real quick? It's $550 for utilities and $550 for the rental per day. So it's 4 days total. I don't know if I'm reading that right. That's the quote that Seth gave us from the MU. I can double check on that and get back to you guys. But
Speaker Momini.
Finance Director, if I may ask you a question, would we be able to table this to finance so finance can look at it and then get it back to us in its correct form?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are absolutely able to do that for sure.
And they would still be able to get their funding in time?
We would have to waive first read next week.
It
If
won't come back on first read. It'll still be on.
Okay, yes, yeah. Yes, that's fine. We can do that.
I motion to table this for 1 week, back to finance.
Moved and seconded to table this bill for 1 week. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be tabled. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. So next we'll move into special orders, starting with 2024-2-011 SG, seating an at-large to the Local Affairs Committee with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Okay, this is Hannah Everhart's bill for her to be seated, and Alex has a blurb from her.
So, some of you guys may know Everhart. She would like to come back as an at-large. I'm going to read her statement. It says, "Hey everyone, sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but I had prior commitments. For those of you that don't remember me, my name is Hannah Everhart, and I'm currently a senior in agricultural communication and international agriculture, and formerly one of the Cal senators. I still want to serve in student government, but I'm looking for something that is a little less commitment. As far as some projects, I've already been working on getting some voter advocacy days set up on campus for local, state, and national elections to increase accessibility of registering to vote on campus." That's all I got.
All right, and so with that, I take it the floor is open. Are there any questions or comments? Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Vice Speaker Pursley. Seeing no closing comments, we'll move into a vote on this. And so unless I hear UC, I'm going to do this as a placard vote. First, we'll do yes, then no, and of course, you may abstain. So all those in favor of the bill? All right, those opposed? And any abstentions? Can we see those in favor again, please? And Senator Agarwal, were you a yes? And Senator Verriger, you're both yeses, correct? Thank you. Oh, and Zahn left the room. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I apologize for that. We'll get you one in just a moment. Are you a yes or a no and abstention? You're yes. Okay, and so that's how that works then. Thank you all. Appreciate it. 16. Because Azan was a yes, so it's 16 to 0. Yeah. All right. Thank you for bearing with us there. We appreciate it. Was this on the vote or unrelated? All right. Thank you for bearing with us there. We appreciate it. We'll get you a placard in just a moment. And so the vote of 15 to 0 to 0 to 1, the motion carries. She's not here, but we still clap for that, right? I feel like, yeah, I know, you were trying. Thank you. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-012 SG, seating at-larges to the PR committee with Vice Speaker Persley.
PR committee has space for more at-larges, and all the names on the list can come up to the podium to say a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, this time is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shiny Saidu. I'm a first-year student here. I'm a first-year PR student and international studies student. So I guess I'll just go ahead and read my statement then. I would like to join the PR committee because I do have a deep interest in public relations, being that that is my field of study here at Iowa State, and I would love to be a part of a space where I can gain more skills and knowledge in PR while also refining my leadership skills here. I also enjoy interacting with people and building relationships with a different variety of people, and I believe that being part of student government would be the perfect opportunity for me to actively do that, and I am ready to commit my time to the PR committee.
If I knew there was going to be photography, I would have dressed a little better. My goodness. Good evening, everybody. My name is Benjamin Pellizzari. I'm a senior in business analytics, and I'm seeking to become an at-large member of the Public Relations Committee. I've just concluded my term as National Vice President of Communication for Future Business Leaders of America Collegiate, and I've begun my term as the Vice President of Communication for the local FBLA chapter here at Iowa State, which, as of this past summer, we're proud to announce, has grown to become the #1 ranked chapter in the United States since I restarted the chapter in 2022. Now proudly led by our IB Senator and local chapter president, Jonathan Nievenhoven. It was through Senator Nievenhoven that I and the student body president got in touch to recruit me for the marketing team in the PR committee. And after many productive and exciting conversations between he and I, as well as Vice President Quinn Margaret and the PR committee chair Eric Braun, it is my hope that you will allow me to become an at-large member of the PR committee, to share my knowledge and experience to your marketing team, and to contribute to the team to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Miles Curtis, and I'm excited about the opportunity to join the Public Relations Committee as an at-large member. With my background being an MIS major and experience as a VP of recruitment for my fraternity, I have a strong passion for using digital tools to connect people and share impactful stories. I believe effective communication is key to building community, and I'm eager to contribute to promoting the work of student government and engaging more students. My experience manning projects and working on creative solutions will help us engage campaigns that reflect the diversity and vibrancy of our student body. I want to be part of the team that amplifies student voices and make sure everyone feels heard and represented.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And with that, the floor is open for any discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Vice Speaker Pursley. Seeing no closing comments, we'll move, unless there's UC, into a, UC has been called for. Doesn't require a second, but I appreciate it. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, congratulations and thank you. The motion carries. Motion add Kwiatkowski to the roll. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, he shall be sat. And with that, we'll move on to 2024-2-005SC, confirming nominees to the Election Commission with Speaker Momini.
I am going to invite the 3 people. We have 2 bills, but the first 3 can be seen on the screen. I'm going to invite them up to the podium to talk about themselves. You can tell us name, major, and why you're interested.
Okay. Hello, Senators. My name is Lakshmi Shastri. I am a first-year chemical engineering major, and I'm trying to get a Spanish minor as well. I'm trying to be part of the Election Commission because I really want to make a difference in, like, on campus, and specifically I want to, like, understand more about, like, the process behind the elections and the process behind student government in general. I'm also trying to get the treasurer position, which I've already talked to the election commissioner about. I have some previous experience using the program QuickBooks, so I'm like familiar with kind of like balancing books and like inputting credit card charges, that kind of stuff. And in general, I have like a little bit of experience like throughout my like high school, middle school, elementary school, like that kind of stuff, like that kind of student government, but I want to see like how it's different and like how it's expanded in college. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Divija Dhanwan, and I'm a junior majoring in aerospace engineering. I'm deeply honored to be standing here today seeking for your approval for my candidacy as the member of Election Commission of Iowa State University. This role is essential in upholding the democratic values of our university, and I'm committed to ensuring that every election reflects transparency and inclusivity. Being involved for the past 5 years in the Model United Nations as a Secretary General and the Chair of United Nations Security Council, I have developed skills essential in facilitating discussions and encouraging collaboration. As member, I aim to effectively communicate with the candidates about relevant information, holding firm qualities like integrity, inclusivity, and respect. I will prioritize creating a respectful environment, and candidates can emerge meaningfully with each other and our student body. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working with you all to create fair and transparent elections that truly reflect student voices.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Love Saini. I'm a sophomore majoring in entrepreneurship, and I'll be honored to be confirmed as the general member of the Election Commission at Iowa State University. And I am passionate about this role because the Election Commission is vital in ensuring fair student government elections, setting the rules that guide candidates and maintaining the integrity of our process. I want to play a part in making the system transparent and accessible for all. And I'm also excited to apply my as a position of PR member in Election Commission. And I'm excited to apply my skills in this role and help empower our fellow students to participate actively in our democratic process. Thank you.
And with that, the floor is open for questions or comments. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Speaker Momini. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing these nominees by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries. With that, we'll now see item 2024-2-006SC, confirming nominees to the Election Commission with Speaker Momini.
Yep, I'm gonna ask the 2 nominees to just name, major, why you want to join, and that's it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Grace Cable. I'm a sophomore majoring in political science and minoring in criminal justice. Throughout high school, I started to gain a little knowledge in the political science world, and as I've gone into college, I've started to gain experience through internships, as throughout the summer I was out in Washington, D.C. And I wanted to now get involved in campus a little bit. So I decided the Election Commission would be a great place to start. Thank you all for having me tonight.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah Yanga. I'm majoring in public relations with a minor in political science and criminal justice. I joined the Elections Commission because I wanted to get more involved in student government, as I truly believe this body helps improve all of the lives on campus and beyond. I'd be a great candidate for the Elections Commission, as it is essential to me to provide a non-biased and level-headed insight to all the elections. Thank you.
And with that, the floor is open. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comment, Speaker Momini. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing these nominees by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries. Next is item 2024-2-013 seating senators to the Events Committee with Speaker Momini.
I am going to invite the 3 senators listed on the bill to go up and tell us, well, hopefully we know each other, but what projects that you hope to complete on the Events Committee.
Okay, hello everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Azan. This is my second year in student gov. I'm a PhD candidate, starting my 4th year in Department of Chemistry. I've been to leadership positions throughout my undergrad as well as in grad college too, which include president as well as treasurer and even director of events back in undergrad. I'm super excited working with Monet, Holly. Super excited for all the events they have planned. But I'm also interested to actually involve student gov members with different team building activities, like volleyball, movie night, let's say Thanksgiving dinner, right? So kind of like get to know more, get involved with student gov members. So I'm excited to work on these type of events as well. With that, I'm open for questions.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Noah Kameyer, if you don't already know me. I was just in general interested in events just because of the work that I've done both last year and so far at the start of this year. Also because of the amount of events that we get to put on as student government. We already have a lot of bills that I'm sure are going to be going through Events Committee. A little bit about my experience. I'm currently the events organizer for the Political Science Club, which included an event literally right before Senate, which was Political Science Trivia. And on top of that, last year I was the president of the Birch Welch Roberts Hall Council, and we didn't actually have an events director, so I just did that position by myself. And then we ended up having about 15 events in total that year, which equated to about 3 events per month, which is great for a hall council. Just on top of that, I'm also the vice president of First Year Council, and Monet, one of the directors of events, was the president last year, so we've already worked together on events as part of First Year Council, and I'm really excited to just be involved in Events Committee for Student Government. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, my name is Nathan Kwiatkowski. I am a sophomore in aerospace engineering. And I'm interested in Events Committee because last year I was involved in event planning for my residence hall, so I'm really just excited to take that to the next step here in student government with lots more resources, lots more potential. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
And with that, the floor is open. Are there any questions or comments? Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Speaker Momini. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing these nominees by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, congratulations. The motion carries. With that, our last special order, item 2024-2-014 SG, seating senators to the events committee with Speaker Momini.
Yeah, I'm going to invite the senator up to the podium and to do the same.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Pelzer. I'm a senator for the College of Human Sciences, and I'm also a double major in event management and financial counseling and planning. So my financial counseling major really plays into event more than you might expect because it makes me very financially conscious whenever I'm planning events. I'm very comfortable planning a wide range of events from small to large, big budget to small budget. Really, I work everywhere. I've worked with multiple nonprofits and still do. And I completed 2 summers of an internship at a luxury resort, planning some of their events and helping with their weddings. I'm very confident that I have the time to dedicate to this committee and the skills to contribute to it. So if you have any questions, please ask me.
With that, the floor is open. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? No objections. Closing comments, Speaker Momini. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, congratulations. The motion carries. So with that, we'll move into general orders, starting with item 2024-2-001Y, changing the bylaws regarding the Election Commission with Speaker Momini.
I'm going to invite the Election Commission up to talk a little bit about the bylaw changes. There are some amendments that I will be suggesting after they are done, and you can see those in the comments if you would like to look at them now.
Hi, everybody. In case you don't know me, I'm Election Commissioner Fajardo. So this is similar to the bill that you all saw 2 weeks ago. They just went back to rules to get some final changes. So I'm just going to run you through all this. I apologize if it's a little long, but just so you all know what we're changing. So first is we're changing the number of the Election Commission from 12 regular members and 4 non-voting members to have it be 8 voting members and 1 non-voting member, which will be me. So I won't be voting in regular order, and we will have 8 voting members, and I will only be voting for breaking ties. We're also removing sections talking about the computation center. So that's back from when we used the computation centers to have computers available for people to vote, but people can vote on their phones on Qualtrics, so we don't need that anymore. So we're removing that. Next, we're also changed. So it says members of the Election Commission shall serve in their elected or appointed role. So that's the new language. This is just to specify that Election Commission members technically serve as long as they're students at Iowa State. And we just want to clarify that we have internally appointed positions, so we just want the bylaws to reflect that. Next is 8.6.1.4, have the authority to impose penalties in regard to found violations to government election law. So we're adding a section that we can impose penalties if they're codified or not, but it has to be through a 2/3 vote of the Election Commission. And then if we have any sort of rule change that's during the election, we have to give campaigns 24-hour notice. So that before the rule change, and the rule change will only take effect after that 24-hour period. Next is just areas of date of candidate ballot positioning, removing that entirely. We don't do paper ballots. This is all done through Qualtrics, and that's randomized now through the system. Polling days and times is next. We're also adding locations since we are doing physical locations for people to vote. I know you might have seen us giving out cookies and things for students voting. Next section is, again, another removal of the computation center. Again, we're doing electronic ballots. We don't have a physical center anymore. Next section is just adding a part that says that to make digital copies of the results available following the public announcement. So that's just allowing us to just publish the results on Instagram instead of having to spend government resources setting up an event that's usually only attended by campaigns and their staff and not really by students. We felt it was much more effective to just reach them through social media with the results. Next is just a spelling correction. It says compliant instead of compliance, so that's the only change that's there. The next section is we're just getting rid of reports to the Chief Justice. These were not done at any point last year. We are changing. There's a bylaw change that's after this to have me required to give an update to the whole Senate. So that's what's effectively replacing that. Next, it talks about, this is a weird section that existed. So basically, it gave Tatum, the vice commissioner, a lot of duties that were assigned to other offices. So we're just getting rid of this entirely since it's already contained within some sections. So it's a bit of a redundant area. And then this next section, so it talks about if the election code isn't passed by Senate by the end of the fall semester, election commissioner would get removed. And then originally it said that the president would appoint the replacement and then confirmed by Senate. We're switching it to Supreme Court justice and confirmed by Senate since my original appointer is a Supreme Court justice. We just want to make sure that that's consistent throughout our proceedings. This next section talks about if quorum is not met, I would be able to elevate a non-voting member. So we're removing that entirely since we no longer have non-voting members. Same with the next section. We don't need any non-voting members. And actually, yeah, the next couple ones are about non-voting members. So we're just getting rid of that since we won't have any of those. Verification panel. This is a remnant to back when we did paper ballots. This is all done virtually. So Christine is the one that handles this, so we don't really need a verification panel anymore. This next section talks about automatic appeals to the Supreme Court. So previously it said that if your total fine was $200 or above, there's an automatic appeal. And also if there's a nullification of the election or bar for future elections, we are changing that to say if it's $500 or above, or if there's 3 or more violation penalties, and then keeping the nullification and barring from future elections, only then will it be automatic appeal. We're just raising the barrier just to clarify. You can still appeal, but there won't be an automatic appeal for anything under that. This next couple sections in Chapter 9, I'm almost done, I promise, is just changing language from computation center to advisor. So again, a lot of those roles that the computation center used to take is now done by Christine. So we're just making sure that the bylaws reflect what our proceedings are. And then next is we're dropping the number of signatures from 750 to 500. This is just to lower the barrier of entry for slates, but we're also maintaining that kind of safeguard so we don't have any joke candidates that can join. But we do want to lower the barrier of entry. We felt this was a good compromise. So we are open to any of your questions and to amendments as well.
First, I would like to motion to amend the Chapter 9 section. If you click on the little chat bubble things, it'll show exactly what's being striked. So the first 2 amendments on the document are being striked as Chapter 9. We have just kind of simplified it for you guys that anywhere that it says computation center in the bylaws is going to be changed to advisor. That's what those first 2 are about anyways. And then the only other thing that's changing in Chapter 9 is if you click on the 3rd little chat bubble, it says added amendments from rules, and those say changing the signature amounts. So with that, I motion to strike where it says and then add where it says added amendments from rules.
For my own clarity, is that specifically with Chapter 9, or is that over the document as a whole?
I'm just going with Chapter 9 because it's a smaller portion.
All right, is there a second? Moved and seconded to adopt those amendments for Chapter 9, specifically striking a few items. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, the amendment shall be made.
All right, with that, I believe that that's all the amendments that are on here, other than if you go to 8.6.2.8, it says work directly with the computation center representative managing electronic ballots. It says remove. In rules, we decided not to remove that, but rather to replace computation center representative with advisor, so that way, if needed, then the bylaws would allow for them to get help from the advisor. So I motion to remove where it says remove entirely and replace it with advisor.
Is there a second? Are there any objections to that amendment? Seeing no objections, it shall be made.
And then
Oh.
I'm just confused. So these are the suggestions coming from the rules, right? Before sending the agenda, or, I mean, like, the things that you are striking off, whatever.
So this was, yes, this was seen in rules. We made amendments with the election commission present, and then we can't just change the document without Senate's approval. So I highlighted them so it's easier for you guys to see what we talked about. With that, the other amendments are old from our first meeting when this was tabled. So the document as you see it is how it would be read in the bylaws. So feel free to ask questions.
All right, and so if that, the floor is open, starting with Senator Azan.
Nominee, sorry, I just say Alex. Okay, can you talk about the penalties? Rules discussed, they like the idea, or what's the thought process of rule committee? Which is on 8.6.1.4. Or did you guys?
I believe that's already a thing, right? Penalties already existed?
Yes, penalties already existed. This is, okay, so there were issues last year that there were rules that were issued during the campaign that was applied within minutes, so campaigns had no time to respond. So what this is an idea to protect the campaigns against really fast rule changes. So for example, if we say, you can't use this specific chair, we can't point at you and say, oh, now you're sitting on the chair, we're going to apply a penalty on you. We have to give you a 24-hour notice before that rules comes into effect. So it's really about protecting the campaign from any fast rule changes that they might not have time to respond to.
Okay. Can you clarify, this is the slates paying out of their pocket, or it's something they're going to talk based on their campaign budget?
So as it's done, campaigns pay for penalties out of pocket.
Out of pocket? And who's going to decide the amount?
So we have in the election code, which we will be presenting within the next few weeks. I don't have a timetable of that. There is an appendix that specifies all the different penalties. Most of the penalties are already codified on there. We will try to stick to those as best as we can, but there's situations we might not be able to anticipate. So this is just to cover both the campaigns and us. So one, that they're able to respond to this. So say we make a rule saying you can't use that chair, they have time to put the chair back so we don't have to go through that process. But generally, we're trying to make sure that the actual penalties are all encompassed, so campaigns can see from the very beginning, these are the amounts that we would have to pay, and we're also going through and attaching each penalty to a specific part of the election code, so they can say, okay, this penalty attaches to this specific thing, or if I break this part of election code, this is the exact thing that's going to
Awesome.
they're going to cost me.
Okay, so I'm going to yield some time to President Hirsch. Since you have gone through the process, do you want to comment on this if you want to?
I have one comment about the signatures, and I also want to give a lot of credit to Santi and his team and Tatum there. I'm super excited that he's election commissioner this year, and I'm very confident that he's going to do a great job. One thought I had was specifically related to the signatures, and that was changing it from 750 to 500. Historically, it's been more signatures in the past, too. And, you know, as someone that ran and did it, right, 750 signatures, I think, is the minimum, personally, right? And that was something that we were able to do and we're very proud of in 3 days. And to 500 seems, you know, I think a little bit too low given the importance of the role, right? And then also the ability to connect with students too during the process. I mean, I still see students, you know, that come up and talk to me like, hey, you know, I met you when you were running and you asked me for the signature on the petition. And I think all of that's great too, because it gets the name of, you know, what we're doing, right? And that's running for such an important role.
Yeah, and I can comment a little bit about why we made that change. So we reached out to some of the Big 12 schools and also all the region institutions. So most of them had about a 2% threshold for the student body that would have to sign. 500 is about it. We're hoping in the future to tack it at that 2%, so as the university grows or hopefully doesn't shrink, that number is tacked to that 2%. So that's the idea, reduce that barrier of entry, and keeping in track with what other institutions are doing.
So when you say reduce the barrier of entry, the maximum candidate can be only 2, right? There cannot be more than 2.
There can be more than 2 candidates, yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, with that, I yield. And if I have more questions, I will ask again.
Senator Kammeier.
This was just a curiosity I had for 8.2.2. Why is it an even number of voting members instead of an odd member?
Yeah, Speaker Mamadi, do you want to answer that?
So it looks a little confusing because the rest of the bylaws aren't here, but literally right above this point is that election commissioner is the chair and that they act as a voting member only in the event of a tie, and that's for almost, I'm pretty sure it's for every single one of our committees. The chair acts as a tiebreaker if there's a tie. So most committees have even numbers.
Speaker Mamadi.
In regards to the petitioning, it was discussed in rules. That's kind of why we, in Chapter 9, we had removed a lot before you guys could see it. Election Commission originally wanted to completely remove petitioning, and we came to an agreement that it should be kept at 500. And that does, kind of lower the burden, and that's also the case for special elections. So there was already a pre-existing part of our bylaws that said that in the event of special elections, that they would only have to do 500 petitioners. And so rules did thoroughly discuss how many petitioners, and this is how we chose to send it to you guys. So that was just a little point of information.
Senator Pedisani.
Can you guys, okay, it works. This is still regarding the signature. So you said most universities that you've researched are about a 2% threshold. What universities did you look at?
So I can give you that list. I don't want to say a name and then mistakenly, but I can get that to you, which ones specifically had 2%. I believe Oklahoma State was there. Was there any?
I'm currently doing the research for this, so a lot of the stuff is from Christine, but Christine was absent last week, so there is a bit of delay. From the ones that I can remember, Oklahoma State, they're roughly 26,000 students. They have a petitioning for 500, so that equaled from what me and Santi did with the math was roughly 2%. So we kept with the 2% there. Other schools that have reached out back to us, like Utah doesn't do petitioning. West Virginia also doesn't do petitioning. So we felt that because Rules Committee said that they wanted petitioning, and we felt that just to be on the safe side, we'll keep petitioning. We'll just lower it to a lower number with the 2% threshold.
Was there a reason to drop the threshold? Like there weren't enough people running for as slates or anything, or just to incentivize more people to run?
Just to incentivize more people to run.
Because I was just curious about that, because I didn't really. I feel like it helps candidates get more in touch with the students, put themselves out there, and get at least a larger body of reach a larger body of students, because it's almost 1,000 students, and once you hit 750, so it's kind of like it's been that for a while, I would assume, at least from the past 2 years, from what I've heard at least. So it's just like what initiated the thought of just dropping petitioning or like lowering the amount?
Santi?
Yeah, it really stemmed from our belief that we want to make sure that that students don't see getting involved in the student government as a huge burden. And again, with conversations with other schools, we're a bit of an outlier in how high some of our petitions are. Like again, West Virginia doesn't have petitioning at all. Utah State doesn't have petitioning at all. UNI has it at 2%, and Oklahoma State also has it at 2%. So we're a bit of an outlier there. And it is a bit of an arbitrary figure to say, oh, it has to be this amount. So again, we want to incentivize more people from running, because we do both have the funds to do it. So usually we only have about 2 slates, and we can accommodate 3. We can accommodate 3 with the same funding levels for all candidates. So we're trying to get students more interested in the position. And again, we're trying to normalize ourselves to what Big 12 is doing, what other institutions are doing. And we believe that this was a compromise between, because we spoke with stakeholders, and there were concerns that if we completely drop it, there might be too many students, and there might be just joke candidates that might just want to use student government money and just buy random things. So we felt it was a compromise between incentivizing students and also having that safeguard. So only serious candidates are seriously applying. And I mean, 500 is still a significant number, so they still get that opportunity to reach out to students. And even with petitioning, it's a bit of weird because they're not really allowed to campaign, but also yes, it's difficult already to reach out to students through petitioning for their specific policies. So we felt it was a bit unnecessary to have it so high. So it's really a compromise between making sure their elections are encouraging only serious students, but also so it's not too high of a barrier of entry that we might limit ourselves in the future.
I would like to yield the remaining of my time to President Hirsch.
Thank you. And again, just going back to the signatures here, I did it, right? I can't tell you how many students, I mean, I know it was over 750 signatures, students I spoke to, again, doing it. And we got 750 signatures in 3 days, right? And it wasn't easy, but it requires an investment. And my concern is too, what's going to happen in years from now, right? Are we going to say, okay, we're going to drop that and we're going to do 250 signatures? My concern is, are you going to have slates that are now running and they're running as a joke and they're not as invested and they're running for a position that has such an importance, right, for what it means to be part of student government and the university. And so I think we really need to be thoughtful here with how many signatures we're doing and what the position is and the requirements to even get that position in the first place. And what it also means, too, in creating awareness and letting students know that we have elections coming up. With that, I yield.
All right. Senator Azan.
I do agree with Senator Pezzani concern and President Marsh concern. I do believe that if we lower this barrier, I understand your concern to encourage more participants, but the distribution of the results will be pretty complex. Imagine if we have like 4 slates running for one position, right? So one slate getting 200 votes, the other one getting 150, whatever. That's just our numbers. But you get the idea, right? So close competition as well as even a potential of tie too, because the other candidate is consuming the votes from, a student body. So we don't have infinite number of students, right? We have limited number of students, right? So did you get the point that having the more number of, slates will create problems in terms of election results? You will not get a clear majority. That's one concern I have. So I think it's important to have 750 signature at least, so that only the person who are interested and motivated to sign up for this position should participate. And if someone cannot even get 750 signature, the vote, let's say they are getting, is just taking the vote from other potential good slate and consuming that vote, which can be, can make a difference if there's only 2 slates running for the position. So I motion to keep 750 signatures on the bill.
Do you mind turning that on? I apologize.
The petitioning is just to get on the ballot, and the Election Commission has enough money to fund 3 slates. There's no reason that we should set a precedent for only 2 just because you're scared that there won't be a majority. If there's a majority, that's what special elections are for.
So my concern is not about the scares. I'm not scared about that. I'm scared about if someone cannot pull off 750 signature, that person is not putting enough effort for the position that it deserves. So let's say whatever vote that person will take the vote from the other candidate, which can be a potential candidate for president. So I think we should have the higher number, whatever the number we had in past.
So my point is, with at least petitioning, it's a bit of an arbitrary number to have it so high at 750. And part of my reason is that it's relatively easy to get a good number. It's arbitrarily high that could discourage someone from running once you do it. If you post it somewhere and just be like, sign my petition, people might sign it blindly. So it's a bit of an arbitrary figure, and we're lowering that so that it doesn't seem as high when you're initially running, so we can encourage a little bit more interest at least. Again, as Speaker Ramani mentioned, we do have enough money for 3 slates, and if we ever need more and we need more money for the campaigns, we can have that discussion at some point. But again, this is about incentivizing more people to be interested in running for a campaign. 500 is still a significant figure. It is about 2% of the student body, still very significant. So we likely won't have 4 or 5 slates so that we would have an issue like that.
I still believe that we should have whatever is the precedent that we have on campus. So can you talk about what was the number in past? Because I think President Marsh was saying that it was higher number or something.
I don't know about numbers in the past. I do know about other institutions, as we mentioned. A lot of them don't have petitions anymore, or they're lower than how we have them. Ideally, we would want it to be set at a percentage so that it's not, as the university changes and as it grows, the number doesn't stay the same. And I do have a question for you. Would it be more amenable to you to have it set as a percentage, so say 3%, 5%, instead of a specific 750 so that it changes?
Yeah, I think I would love that. Let's put like a percentage, like whatever, whatever the election commission thinks that, instead of arbitrary number. So maybe we can make a motion on that too. Let's say 2.5, 3% or whatever, and whatever the numbers, you can figure out that. So,
Point of information.
do you prefer? Yes.
2 to 3% would be around 500. It would be around 500. The percentage that you're suggesting would be around 500, which is what we would be changing it to.
But the numbers will change then, right? Depending upon the enrollment, right?
I doubt that we're going to go up drastically in the next couple of years.
Okay.
I mean, I would hope, right? Everybody would, but trends suggest otherwise.
Thank you. Speaker Momini.
All right, I'm going to try and keep this concise and clear. This piece of legislation has been before you guys for 4 weeks now. It was on first read, and then it was tabled for 3 weeks. During all of those weeks, you guys were all told when rules was being held. You guys all had the opportunity to come to rules. Rules are open meetings. Every senator, every member of student government, and every student was allowed to come to rules and express their opinion on this. This is why I urge you guys to read our bills before we see them on second read, so that way you know what is being read to you, and you could have came to rules and you could have been a part of this discussion. The initial discussion was Election Commission wanted to remove them. In rules, we discussed that we didn't think that they should be removed, that we valued petitions, and that while we understood that their point, we made a compromise. If you wanted to be part of that compromise, you've had 4 weeks to do so. With that, the compromise for 500 was to initiate people to want to go. There is a lot that goes into campaigning. I'm sure that our current president and VP could tell you that campaigning is a lot, and petitioning is a small part of it. With that, you need to do outreach, you need to do events, you need to do buttons, posters, etc. That's where a lot of your engagement comes from. And we're not saying that, hey, you can only have 500 and then you have to stop and never speak to anybody again. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, all right, get your 500 and then you go and do your thing, and you campaign fully. You campaign with your policies, you campaign with all the jazz and pizzazz that goes in campaigning. This is just lowering that threshold so people feel more invited into our organizations. It's the same with how when you're a senator, before you get a run, you have to do 2 outreach credits. That would be like if we're like, oh, that's too easy, 2 hours is too little, let's make senators do 6. So the point was that 500 lowers that threshold. It makes it easier for people to get in the door, but it doesn't make the process easier. The process is still long, it's still hard, and it's still a lot of work. And this is what rules meetings are for. This is why I tell you when they are and how to come. So that way, if you think that you would like to comment on a bylaw change, then please come and do it at rules, so we can avoid some of this confusion and just going back and forth at our Senate meetings. With that, I yield.
Senator Spahn.
Yeah, I'll just emphasize everything that Speaker Momini said, and also the commissioner has stated that 750 was an arbitrary number, and based on university practices, looking at what Big 12 schools do as well as the Regent schools is standard practice at universities. At this university, I mean, in particular. I'm an intern in student wellness, and we do that a lot. We look at what other universities are doing. We communicate with other universities, and I think that's a really great initiative to reach out to them and to understand what our Big 12 schools are doing was a really great thing, and I think it's a good idea. With 500, but the difference between 500 and 750, I think the point is that we want our candidates to be reaching out to students, to talking to students. That's an uncomfortable thing nowadays, right? To just walk up to a random student. I see people doing it all the time for their clubs, and I often feel bad because I'm like, oh, nobody wants to talk to them. Like, that probably sucks. If you have to get at least 500 signatures, you're already doing the work, talking to people, and getting them to know about the campaign. So that's all I have to say about that.
Senator Agarwal.
I'd just like to add that the difference between 700 and what the Election Commission is proposing right now, 750 signatures, and what the Election Commission is proposing right now is 0.5%. I don't think it's that substantial of a change. And I also would like to reiterate whatever Speaker Momini said. I think 500 or 2%, as they quantified, is a perfectly reasonable number for petitions.
All right. Do you have another? Awesome. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Speaker Momini.
I would like to add that I do appreciate the debate. And that's all.
All right, and so with that, we're going to move into a vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, and of course you may abstain. Iono Dimhoff. Moran. Rolls. Pelzer. Kwiatkowski. Utica. Palin. Azan. Kameyer. Pedasani. Agarwal. Veriger. Snyder. Momini. Swan. Sloop. And Pursley. 1 moment. All right, so with a final vote of 16 to 0 to 1, congratulations, the motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-002Y, bylaw change for the election commissioner comments in the third session with Senator Kameyer.
All right. Hi, everyone. So we discussed this bill a little bit last week on first read. This is pretty basic and standard, but essentially it just grants speaking permissions for the election commissioner just during the third session, which is when a lot of those election updates would appear, and it would just add it to our weekly agenda. So just like how the executive branch, as well as President Hirsch, gives a little address, the election commissioner or someone appointed by the election commissioner would do that as well.
And with that, the floor is open for any discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing?
As I recall, there was a bill, and I officially sat in that committee asset. So unless we change something,
there was never an asset committee. There was just people assigned to assets.
I'm going to yield my time to Vice President Margaret to comment on this. I don't know what was the process look like back then, but there were like 3 senators, right? I don't remember the exact number.
Yeah, so to try to answer your question a little bit, ASSET is an external committee. So it is a committee, but it doesn't exist within student government, so we appoint people to go sit on it, if that answers your question.
So the question is, we do have senators in that external committee. So So my question is, are we removing the powers from the senators in that committee regarding whatever the numbers are, and just giving power to one person, which is nonprofit coordinator, to make a recommendations and decision?
Point of information, none of the changes that you are seeing are new. They have been with our bylaws since they were updated previously. This is not something that Rules Committee made up or that was changed.
Yeah.
If you were sat to asset, that was just something that whoever sat you did for funsies.
Okay, whatever, but it caught my attention now, so I'm just asking for clarification.
Clarification is that there is not a procedure, or there was never a procedure in our bylaws for you to have to be sat to asset. If that happened, it was for funsies. You don't have to be sat to asset by Senate confirmation.
Senator Kameyer.
This is just a friendly for 2.7.1.12.2, just to enter it to a new line.
Can you give me that number again?
2.7.1.12, 0.1 or 0.2.
All right. So with that, the floor is open for any further discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Speaker Momini. UC has been called. All right. Placard you're specifically requesting? All right. All right, roll call has been called for, which does trump the placard vote. And so, once again, we'll do a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no. Of course, you may abstain. Iono Dimhoff. Moran. Rolls. Pelzer. Kwiatkowski. Utica. Palin. Azan. Kameyer. Pedasani. Farragher. Snyder. Momini. Spawn. Sloop. And Pursley. 1 moment. All right, so with a final vote of 15 to 0 to 1, the motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-001J, congratulating President Winterstein with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Okay, so this bill is pretty simple. It's congratulating President Winterstein for her time at Iowa State, and it would be delivered to her. Let me know if you have any questions.
With that, the floor is open. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments, Vice Speaker Pursley. All right, and so unless there's UC, we'll move. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, the motion carries. That one we have to clap for, you guys. Thank you. With that, we'll move into our new business items for this evening, starting with item 2024-2-014F, funding for the Iowa State Equestrian Club Western Team with Senator Kameyer.
Hi, everyone. So obviously, this is just a first read for the Iowa State Equestrian Club, and they're just looking to go to a travel show, which is at Truman State University. And so if you have any questions, just let me know.
Floor is open for questions of intent, starting with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Does this club get funding from the original allocations at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Floor is open for further questions of intent. Seeing none, this item will return next week, and we'll now look at item 2024-2-016F, funding for the Iowa State Equestrian Club Hunt Team with Senator Pedasani.
So this is for funding the Iowa State Equestrian Club Hunt Team. So they're trying to host a showcase off campus because the on-campus facilities aren't sufficient enough to be able to host a show for them. So they're trying to request an off-campus facility, renting stalls for their horses, and trailer equipment and event equipment as well.
With that, the floor is open for questions of intent. Seeing none, this bill will return next week, and we'll now look at item 2024-2-017F, funding the Men's Rugby Club with Senator Pedasani.
So this is to fund the rugby club to get insurance and registration for the USA with USA Rugby, and to be a part of the Heart of America Conference.
All right, questions of intent, starting with Senator Kammeier.
So is item 1 like just a registration fee then?
Yes.
All right, are there any other questions of intent? Seeing none, this item will return next week. And with that, we've completed our business for this evening, and the floor is now open for any general closing announcements. All right, very rarely do we have none. With that, I don't have any closing announcements, and so I'm going to yield to the Vice Speaker.
Okay, everyone, good job tonight. Good job asking questions. I was going to say, fill out the MIS if you haven't for the committees you're on. I think there's a spot for that. And then, yeah, just make sure the MIS is full for all of you new senators, too. Thank you, guys.
I got a little bit for you guys since nobody wanted to talk. I'm always happy to. I'm going to reiterate what I said in the legislative packet, which is that if you are requesting that Pursley or I write a bill for you, that we need to have those by Monday before you want them to be seen at 5 p.m. Otherwise, Tuesdays I feel like I'm going crazy when people ask me to write bills for them at 12:30. So if y'all could do that, that would be great. Next week or the week after, I will get back to you guys very soon. We will be having a working meeting at 5 p.m. This will be for you guys to have the chance to have headshots, senators. I mean, for you guys to have the chance to have headshots taken in business professional clothing. I know that we did polos, but I and myself have some, and others have some interest in having business professional photos. You can use them for your LinkedIn to show your grandma. You know, my grandma likes those things, so. That's what we'll be doing that. And then, yes, please, if you are on a committee, put yourself on there. Committee chairs, the very few that are left, please put your at-larges so that they can be on the agendas and stuff too. And that way, when you guys send me at-large bills, I don't have to ask you how many you have because I can just look and see myself. With that, thank you for this very productive and our longest meeting of the session. With that, motion to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
See you next week. Thank you.